Hey everybody, this is Mike Novogratz, Next with Novo, and I'm here with Amanda Fabiano.
Amanda. I like
I
that.
decided to make you a little more Italian.
Yes, here we are.
Amanda came from Fidelity to run our mining practice. And so, Amanda, welcome.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me here and just employed.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
It's good to be employed in the time of Corona. So tell me about your crypto journey.
Yeah, so I started at Fidelity and I started working in Bitcoin world back in 2017, and where I actually met you first.
So you were a late convert.
I was a late convert. Yeah, I definitely don't own enough Bitcoin. So, we'll get there. But I was a late convert. I started working on the education system at Fidelity. So I was leading like the internal, we called it a Bits and Blocks Club, which is where we first met when you came as a speaker there, which was a lot of fun. And I feel like the world was very different than in Bitcoin world, and just generally, I guess we could say. So started there. We decided at Fidelity that we wanted to expand our mining operation back in around the same time frame. So worked on that. We purchased machines from different manufacturers. We put them in different locations and really got to start to learn about just the mining ecosystem overall. It is such an important part of Bitcoin that was really overlooked for a while. And so I started to really care more about it and then dig in even more.
So why should the Bitcoiner out there or the crypto person out there, why should they understand mining? Why should they care about mining?
So there's no Bitcoin without Bitcoin mining, right? Like it's the underlying infrastructure of the entire ecosystem and network. I think that the two biggest areas that don't gain enough attention is mining and also Bitcoin developers.
So miners, people have all these preconceptions about what Bitcoin mining is.
Mm-hmm.
It's dominated by China. It's polluting the world.
Yep.
Enlighten people a little bit about geography of where miners are located,
Yep.
concentration of miners.
Mining has traditionally been centralized in China, and we're seeing that start to dissipate and be more global. So Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance came out with a survey last year where they interviewed miners and asked where they were, et cetera. And there was about, I think, 6 or 7% of the network in North America, and we're seeing that grow even more. The area of mining that is concentrated in China are two areas. So there's one, a lot of the pools are based out of China. And then two, the mining manufacturing, like the people who make the machines, are all based out of China. So that's kind of where I would say the concentration risk is versus miners. We're seeing more miners be distributed all over the world. So popping up in countries like Kazakhstan, Russia, North America, even Venezuela. They're all starting to mine more and more Bitcoin.
So we're going to go back to Bitcoin Mining 101. We have electricity, we have chips, we have the guys that process the mines, we have these things called pools. So take us through one by one how mining works.
Yeah, so you have the chips or the machines, and those are the application-specific integrated circuit machines.
ASICs, they call them.
ASICs, yes. And the only thing they do is mine Bitcoin.
And who makes those?
So there's a few manufacturers that make them. The biggest one is Bitmain. There's MicroBT. There's Canaan and Silicon, and then Bitfury, eBang.
And so these are chips that are produced specifically for Bitcoin mining.
Yep.
And they are fast as lightning.
Yep. Yeah. So the more efficient they get, the better the odds are for you to win a block.
So I buy my chips.
Yep.
Then I go to a hosting site or build my own hosting site.
Yep.
And I need electricity.
You need really low cost electricity.
And right now, what's low cost electricity?
So
it used to be 8 cents, 10 cents, then it was 6 cents. What is it now?
Right now, you should be around 3 cents.
3 cents.
Yeah, so we've done some studies.
So table stakes is literally 3 cents.
That's where you want to be.
Right.
Yep. And that's for your raw cost of electricity. It seems like that's around the median. BitUda did a report. Actually, we worked with them on it when I was at Fidelity, and they looked across a lot of different mining companies, and that's where they think the middle ground is.
So I buy my chip from one of those manufacturers. I find a place that gives me 3 cent electricity. I pay some fee for them to process.
Yep. Yeah. So you pay a hosting fee for them to just pay for their electricity and plug you in.
I take my mine and I
You connect
it
them
into
to
a
a
pool.
pool. Yep.
So explain what a pool is.
So a pool is where miners just pool their hash rate together so that their odds are better of mining Bitcoin. And so it's just like the thing that you're competing is your hash rate against the network hash rate. And the larger your hash rate is, whether that's like just your own machines or with a pool, the more odds you are, the more odds you have to win.
Right. So this takes the randomness out of it, you know.
It takes a way out of it more than if it was just like a small mining operation.
Right.
Because you would need a lot of computing power to mine one block in a day. And unless you have that, you should always use a pool.
So now the pool gets a small fee. What's the pool's fee?
So pools fees have been actually being reduced because pools as a standalone service has been changing. So pool fees now can be anywhere from like 0% sometimes, depending on your operation, to 2%. Yeah, 0% to go percent. But yeah, so it depends on how big your operation is, what your relationship is with the pool. But standard is, I'd say, like 1% to 2%.
All right. So now after the pool, I get my Bitcoin back, and I can keep my Bitcoin, or I can sell them for dollars.
Yep.
I can do whatever I want with them.
And you have these new, freshly minted Bitcoin.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Beautiful Bitcoins. I love them.
Beautiful.
All right. And so the economics, I'm spending dollars to buy machines, or I guess I could spend Bitcoin to buy machines and to host. When does Bitcoin mining make the most money, and when does it lose money?
So there's two denominators that you want to think about with Bitcoin mining. So there's price and hash rate. So those two things usually work in parallel with each other. So as Bitcoin price increases, hash rate will follow, because
hash rate is the difficulty of mining a Bitcoin.
Hash rate is just like the overall network of like all the machines that are on the network, right? So it's just like the amount of power that is being given to the Bitcoin
So
network.
the more hash rate goes up, the harder it is to find a
That's
Bitcoin.
right. Yep.
Right. So you can call it the difficulty. So
the difficulty adjusts every 2 weeks, and then the hash rate is just like the measure of what's out there on the network. So when you think about like when is a good time to mine Bitcoin, it is like really at all times, because you can mine a Bitcoin lower than you can buy it on just like the open market. So as long as you're willing to put up money, like the capital cost for machines and for infrastructure, or for machines and for co-location, you're going to continuously mine Bitcoin below the cost that you can buy it on the network.
And so we're seeing tons of people wanting to come into the mining space.
Yeah, because it's a bull market.
Because it's a bull market. And it's hard to get in Bitcoin mining, because Bitcoin's already moved, but it's also hard because you can't get the chips.
Yeah,
so talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the supply chain constraints at the ASIC level has been real. And a lot real since we started doing this. So when I came over here in October, we had ordered machines, and the timing was right, because now that as the Bitcoin price is continuing to grow and everyone is really interested in mining, there's a few things that are going on. One, people are putting up large orders. So a lot of like the public mining companies have announced that they're like buying a ridiculous amount of machines over the course of the next year. Two, you have companies with large balance sheets getting into Bitcoin mining, like seeing the value in it. And then three, you have, companies that have been mining Bitcoin for a while that now have, as Bitcoin price goes up, they have more money to purchase machines. So I think those three things have created this like perfect storm.
Classic commodity cycles.
Yep.
Price goes up, everyone jumps in.
Yep.
Then there's too many people trying to do the same thing, and price goes down. Not necessarily of Bitcoin itself, but of the profitability of mining. And that would be the classic cycle.
Yeah. So the Bitcoin price, it's Bitcoin price and hash rate that you care about, right? So right now miners are super profitable. It's a great time to be a Bitcoin
because
miner.
We've just moved price of Bitcoin way up, and all the new machines that have been ordered aren't plugged in yet.
Yeah, they're starting to go online now. You could see the hash rate increasing, but
so hash rate should spike like crazy.
I think that we'll see a steady incline of hash rate over the next year, because we are sold out of machines.
So if I had a machine today, brand new machine, I plugged it in, I had 3 cent power, I paid a normal hosting fee, roughly what dollar amount am I mining a Bitcoin at?
So let's see. That's a really good question, because it's all about your operation. I think that you can mine a Bitcoin around like, I'd have to look at our models, right? But maybe like around like 6 to 8K maybe right now.
So we should be mining like insane right now.
Yeah. The hardest thing is like to get back to like the supply chain of the ASICs. Like that is the hardest thing, because there's a handful of people who own like producing these machines, and they're all dependent on the foundry. And there's only really like 2 foundries in the world that produce the integrated circuits. TSMC
TSMC
and Samsung.
Right.
And so, we think about like mining, and this is like my whole world. But if you zoom out, TSMC makes like computers for Apple, right? They make like all different types of things for much larger companies than like the companies in the world that we live in.
We're understanding how mining works. We're understanding why it's hot right now, why the mining stocks are going high, because there's not a, people buy them as Bitcoin proxies, and mining is going up. There's not a lot of supply. ESG. People want a green world. We're sick of all the pollution. You got coal mining plants, mining Bitcoin. What's Bitcoin's answer to ESG?
So Bitcoin miners are actually incentivized to use renewable energy because the cost of production is lower. And I think that is really the way to go. One interesting area that has been popping up in mining and Bitcoin has been like this like oil and gas production style, like excess oil and gas where the methane is flared. You can capture that and use that energy to mine Bitcoin. So that's like one really cool area that companies like Crusoe, Upstream Data, GAM are all solving for. There's also like the layer ones and HODL ranches that are using the Texas energy grid and like the load balancing management to take advantage of the low cost of electricity.
Right. One thing that's interesting is you don't need that constant source of electricity.
No, you don't.
And so you can go to places in green energy where it doesn't work perfectly. And
you could take advantage of turning off your machines because you can power down a mine in like 5 minutes.
Got it.
It's just turning off all of your machines and putting them back on.
Like, did you ever think you were going to become a miner?
I went to school for criminal justice, which is shocking. I started at Fidelity in like workplace investments. Then I switched into our
Sorry
Center
about those
for
people
Applied.
that taken your job. But.
Yeah, sorry. And then I switched to Fidelity Center for Applied Technology, and it really just was just the shift of me like being like, what's this Bitcoin thing? And then it just fell in my lap. And then mining was so weird that I just had to know more about it. And mining, there's some like crazy stories that exist in mining, and I just find them all fascinating. So
what's Galaxy going to do in mining? Why are you here? And what are your plans?
So yeah, that's a good question too. We're just getting started.
I guess I should know since I'm your boss.
Yeah, you should know that.
I want the audience to know. I want the audience to know what we're going to do in mining.
So I think that there's a lack of financial tools available for miners in the space right now. So we know that all miners are constantly looking for capital because it is this highly capital intensive business. But if we think about what mining is, you really are printing Bitcoin. So we should be creating more robust financial tools for miners to be able to be smarter with their money. We're going to be mining on our own, which we already are.
Awesome.
Because I don't think that we shouldn't be creating financial tools unless we are a miner and understand the needs and desires that miners have.
So we're building up our own mining operations, which I think is great.
Yep.
We're lending money to miners.
Yep. We're doing miner MiFi.
Who came up with MiFi?
That's a Ferraro special right
Chris
there.
Chris Ferraro, we'll give him credit. MiFi, I like that. Derivatives.
So we're going to offer a full suite of products to miners that will utilize all of Galaxy's current potentials.
Right. So like spot and options.
Yep.
And how many potential counterparties for a company like Galaxy are there in mining? So like real substantial mining operations, both in North America and then abroad. So we've,
since we've started this business unit, we've talked to over 55 different companies just to learn what they're doing. And they run the full gambit of from ASIC manufacturers to energy producers to energy providers to actual co-locations to people who run their own mine proprietarily. I think that there is a ridiculous amount of people that are working on mining. And
what's a big mine?
A gigawatt, like what HODL Ranch is building?
A gigawatt.
Yeah, I think that's a huge mine.
And what's
I think realistically, people are around like probably like 30 to 50 megawatts. Like that would be big right now. And I think that, we see people at all different sizes, and it doesn't mean that they'll last or not last based on their size. It's really about their operational cost.
Right. If you drive your operational costs low enough, even in tough times, it puts the other people out of business.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
What else do you want to tell the audience about mining? You love mining. I have not met anybody in my life that likes Bitcoin mining as much as Amanda.
It's just so cool and weird at the same time. It's awesome. So yeah, no, I think sometimes it's hard to like zoom out and talk about mining at like a one-on-one level because we've been so focused on it. the cool thing about mining is it's like its own little ecosystem.
What's it like to be a woman in crypto, right? When I just as a data point, I have a lot of Twitter followers, and when I look at like who follows me on Twitter, it's 85% men and 15% women.
I'm a pretty fiery person to begin with, so
Yes,
I don't
you
really
are.
have any issues. I think that, sometimes it would be nice to have a different perspective. And women bring a different perspective in. So like our mining team is 50-50 at Galaxy. We have half women, half men.
We're going for diversity at Galaxy. I tell you what, we spent a lot of time thinking about it. It is not easy in a space like crypto.
Yeah.
But we are working on it.
Yep. And I think that, there's also an option for us to skill people up in the space too. And it doesn't have to have, like mining specifically, you don't have to have an MBA. You don't have to have this like unbelievable background. You just have to be super passionate and knowledgeable about Bitcoin. And so I think that like this space in particular is something that we can really just look for a different crowd that isn't like the
all-female mining team. There they go.
Man, I would
and then
love
we're going to
that.
get you hats.
We're gonna get
and we're
the
going to do a
hats.
poster. What do your parents think about this?
My mom has literally no idea what I do. It's funny. I actually gave Frank at the block an idea that on Thanksgiving he should interview people with their parents and say like, "What is Bitcoin?" Because I thought it would be such like a funny like little parody. Because I don't think anyone's parents fully understand what they do. So one of my friends,
My mom knows when she sees the price go up, she calls me and says, "Good job, good job."
That's so funny. My mom's like, "I have no idea what you do, but I'm very proud of you." I'm like, "Thanks, Mom." My other friend, Josh, his grandmother thinks he works at the Bitcoin company, which is like my favorite thing. He's like, "How's the Bitcoin company doing?" It's great.
It's doing well.
Yeah, we're doing great. Stock is up. So, yeah, I think, it's difficult to talk about what you do, but I do remind my family all the time at the price that I told them to buy Bitcoin at and then the price that we're at, but they haven't caught on yet.
I have some friends that look at me and they get mad because like, "Why did you tell me?" I was like, "Dude, I've been on TV for 7 straight years telling people to buy Bitcoin.
Like, how else could I tell
But why
you?"
didn't you tell me? I was like, "Oh, fair point."
But I saw you joined Clubhouse and you were telling like a lot of people about Bitcoin.
I have been trying to reach new audiences.
Yeah,
and-
Clubhouse is like a fascinating place.
Yeah.
And I'm very surprised at how many people join these calls and then they have like very smart questions and just are genuinely curious about the space. So I think that we're seeing an uptick in this bull market, like obviously institutional like we talked about, but retail and a different type of retail, which is great.
Awesome. Last question. We are in a Bitcoin bull market. I mean, I got a tattoo at 20,000.
Yeah,
And we're
moon
already
tattoo.
at 40. One of my kids said, "Dad, what do you get your next tattoo?" And I said, "At 500 on my arm."
What will it be?
Oh, a big dragon.
Oh.
I was born in the year of the dragon.
Okay.
1964. The next year of the dragon is 2024. And I decided it's right about the time we should hit 500,000 Bitcoin, which is what Bitcoin will be roughly the same size as gold's market cap. And so 2024, dragon on the arm.
I like it.
Maybe 2023 if things keep going at this pace. What do you think? Is this chapter 1? Is this chapter 10? Are you worried that we're in a bubble or
We're not in a bubble.
not in a bubble?
No, we're
Just
not in
getting
a
started.
bubble. I think we're just getting started. The influx of institutional capital that has been continuing to be like thrown into Bitcoin, I think will keep the price relatively steady. I think the last bull run, it was primarily driven by retail. And this one just is like smarter money. So I don't think
And we're going to
going
see
down.
institutional capital come into the mining space pretty quick is my intuition.
I hope so. I mean, it's like the easiest way to get Bitcoin if you know the right person to figure it out for you.
All right. Amanda, thanks a ton.
Thanks for having
This has
me,
been
Mike.
Next with Novo, talking about Bitcoin mining. We'll see you soon.